Welcome, dear students. In the previous two lecture of liquid drop model, we are trying to develop a semi-empirical mass formula. And semi-empirical means we are using empirical methods. We are not deriving anything. We are trying to derive a mass formula for the nucleus from the binding energy expression. You know that the binding energy and masses are connected. So that this equation all of you are quite familiar. Binding energy is nothing but nothing but delta mc square. So delta m is the difference in mass between the nucleus and its constituent nucleons, which constitute the nucleus. For example, if you're talking about alpha particle, then it's the difference of mass between the four nucleons independently, that is two protons and two neutrons, and minus the mass when all of them come together and form the alpha nucleus. So that's how you know. But we are trying to develop an expression for the binding energy, and from the binding energy, we will try to get an expression for mass. That is what our objective is. That is semi-empirical mass formula. For binding energy, till now we have discussed three terms. One is the volume term, then we have discussed the surface term, and then we have also discussed the asymmetry term. Sorry, the Coulomb term we have discussed, and the last term which I discussed in the previous lecture is the asymmetry term. So there are four terms which have been considered so far, and finally our target is that we are able to, this is V by A versus A graph, and this is something which we are trying to derive. So there's a graph like this, and putting all this expression and plotting the graph between V by A versus A, we want to get the shape. So we were getting the shape. The problem was we had to introduce the asymmetric term because uh, it was found that for the isobar family, when we try to use this binding energy expression, and from the binding energy expression, of course, when I say binding energy expression, uh, I can use the word for the same. I either use mass formula or binding energy because both of them are connected. So from the binding energy expression, we got the mass formula, and from the mass formula for the isobar families, when we tried to predict the most stable element, we found that the results were not satisfactory. For example, when we took, I think we took AS 212, and for 212, the prediction which came was that Z was turning out to be around 2 or 3. So you know that when A is 212, Z cannot be 3. So something was missing. Then it was realized that we had to deviate from the liquid drop model and go to the quantization of levels. Quantization of levels, as I had explained earlier, that in each level you can have one proton with spin up, another proton with spin down. Similarly, you can have one neutron with spin up and spin up down. Like that, we had tried to fill that. And you know that in a nucleus there is neutron excess. So when you're talking about neutron excess, the neutrons are going to be packed in the higher energy levels. Now, since they're going to be packed at high energy levels, just as in atom, the electrons which are in the higher energy level are less bound, or they can be easily be removed. So if the neutrons are very at a higher energy levels, that reduces the binding energy. That results in reduction of the binding energy. And we had introduced all that term, and I had discussed it in the previous lecture. Now, what are we going to be discussing today is that slight those peaks, remember, in the lower A region has to be accounted for. So that also we'll take care of in today's lecture. Remember, this graph was like this, and at the lower A, I'll try to draw it here. Remember, at the lower edge there are certain peaks. You can see that. So this there are certain peaks which are found that the higher values of A at mid A, the graph is more or less smooth. But at the lower A, there are certain peaks, and we wanted to ensure that if that can also be taken care in the binding energy expression, so that will complete the entire picture, and we will be able to produce a graph which is matching with the experimental value. This is the experimentally observed graph. We are developing a theoretical graph, and that should match. So these are the regions low. There are certain nucleus. It has been found that Z is equal to even numbers, 2, 4, the certain number 8, 12, something like that. I'm not going to the entire list. 16, 20. So these are all certain nucleus which are having unusually higher binding energy than at their neighbor. So if you're considering Z is equal to 1, and when you go from Z is equal to 1 to Z is equal to 2, suddenly you will find a peak. And then again, if you go from Z is equal to 3 to 4, you again get a peak. So there are some unusually high values found for even Z, which are having values which I have just mentioned here. So it's called, there's one more term which is, this is also the statistics there in front of you. See if Z is even. Of course, if Z is even, you can have two four ways in which even A can be formed, even Z and even N. The number of stable nuclei is found in nature is the highest. So somehow the nature seems to be preferring nucleus which has got even Z and even N. And if we go to the other extreme, again A is even, but even number can be found by combining two odd numbers. So it is found that odd nuclei are not stable. And then we come to this group which is in between, where A is odd. When A is odd, uh, there are less number of, compared to the even nucleus, there are less number of stable nucleus found. So the highest stability is for even. The next comes for odd or even odd, and odd nuclei are the least stable. So using this empirical results, using this observation, one term has been introduced to take care of this, and there is no explanation given to this term. This is just a term to take care of this observation which is found in nature. It is called the pairing energy term. Okay, it's called the pairing energy. Okay, so what does that pairing energy mean? Pairing energy is, P stands for binding energy, P stands for pairing energy. The pairing energy term is given by minus AP, A raised to minus 3 by 4. AP is the pairing energy coefficient, and it has been found empirically that this is the value which are there for the pairing energy term, that for even A and Z being even, so that is for even nuclei, the coefficient value is minus 33.5. Please understand it is minus. So if you go to the previous value, minus will become plus. So even means the binding energy increases. So the binding energy increases if this is positive, and obviously negative value of binding energy means that there is a reduction in the stability. So this term has been assigned minus. For odd A, it is taken as 0, and for odd A, but odd, in which this is odd, okay, there's a mistake here, sorry, this should be even. So A is even, so minus 33.5. A is odd, so whether it is odd or even odd, the value is 0. And when A is even and when Z is odd, This is for odd case. The pairing energy term has been taken as plus 33.5. So if you consider the expression here, plus 33.5 means this will reduce the binding energy. So that takes care of the unusually high binding energy formed at the even number. Suddenly there is a peak here, it shoots up like this, and then it again shoots up like this. So these unusual peaks are because they are all even nuclei, and even nuclei, the binding energy term is high because of the pairing. Pairing means, it's called pairing means there's a pair formed. The two protons are forming a pair. It's just like this K shell, L shell, M shell in atom. In K shell, the octet is complete means the even number of electrons. There are first there are two electrons, and then you have the next shell you have eight electrons. Then third shell you have 18 electrons. So these are the numbers, even numbers. So similarly, there is a pair formed. The pair is formed. There is a strong bond. If it is unpaired, it is very easy to remove, just as alkali elements. In alkali elements, you have one electron outside the closed shell. So it's very easy to ionize an alkali element. So similarly, it's very easy to remove a nucleon, which is in an isolated state, which is not forming a pair. So that's the reason why this has been introduced. Okay. So finally, dear students, we have a situation where we have discussed uh, five terms. I'll just put them here in front of you. Four you are already studied in the previous lecture. This is the fifth term, pairing energy term, and this is binding energy because of the volume, because of the surface, because of the asymmetry, because of the Coulomb, because of the asymmetry, because of the pairing. So you can see that there are five terms here. When you add all of them, you get the binding energy expression, and from binding energy expression, you get the mass expression. This is the relationship between mass expression and the binding energy. This is the binding energy expression. Mass expression is AMN. A is the mass number multiplied by the mass of neutron minus Z. Difference in mass Mn minus Mp minus binding energy. This we have already seen earlier, so please refer the previous notes. So this is the relationship. This has been derived from this expression that you have binding energy is equal to delta M to C square. Okay. Now what we do is we put all the binding energy terms, that is BV, BS, BC, BA and BP, and all those terms you can see are all lying here. This is AVA is the volume term. So the plus terms will become minus. So BV is increasing the binding energy, BP is increasing the binding energy, surface term is decreasing the binding energy, Coulomb energy term is decreasing the binding energy, and asymmetry is also decreasing the binding energy. So the decreasing binding energy will become plus here. So you can see that the surface term has become plus, Coulomb term has become plus, asymmetry term has become plus. AP, of course, AP takes different values, plus and minus. We have seen this in the table here. Okay. So this is how it all depends upon the value of whether it's odd, even, or odd. So that's how it is written, plus AP plus this thing. Now this is called the Weizsäcker's semi-empirical mass formula. This is called the semi-empirical mass formula. So we have derived the mass formula for a nucleus using the binding energy, and the binding energy expression has been derived from the liquid drop model, and it is called semi-empirical because some of them are based on the experiments, some of them are based on observations, just a wild guess, like pairing energy term, trying to take care of the lower A stability. So it's a semi, and it's also called semi because remember, for the asymmetry term, we have deviated from the liquid drop concept. We were talking about energy levels, which is not the case in case of a liquid molecules. So this is called Weizsäcker's semi-empirical mass formula. Now this is a very important formula. Now dear students, you have to remember this formula. I'll talk about a easy way of remembering the next slides. But this is going to be used in the remaining lecture, this formula for mass. And we are going to be testing various properties of the nucleus and trying to see whether this mass formula is standing the test or not. So this is a theoretical expression for the mass. Now let's talk about the coefficients. The coefficients have been calculated. You need not do that. You can directly remember this value. You will have to remember AV 14, surface coefficient 13 MeV, Coulomb is zero point 0.6, asymmetry is 19. AP, as you know, has got different values, minus 33.5 for even, 0 for even odd and odd even, and plus 33.5 for odd odd. So please remember these coefficients value. You will have to use this in your numericals. Now we will see what happens. I'll rewrite this formula. MZA, everything I write down. Now I'll just rearrange the term. Now what I have done is take the previous expression, take a piece of paper and write down the expression and club all the Z terms, club all the A terms, okay, and club all the remaining term which is having Z square. You can see a Z square here. You can see a Z square here, club all the Z square term, and the remaining term which does not have A, Z or Z square uh, will be plus or minus delta. Yeah. Okay. So everything I have just put it in a very compact form here. Same expression but written in a very compact form. Written as alpha A plus beta Z plus gamma Z square plus or minus delta. Alpha is, you can collect all the coefficients of A and just check. You will have to do it with a piece of paper and write it down. Only then you will be able to justify this, so that will give you confidence. Just by looking at it, it will be difficult. You have to rearrange the terms. So take the coefficients of A, which is alpha. So alpha will be this. This is our alpha. Take the coefficients of Z, that will be beta. Take the coefficients of Z square, that will be gamma. It's very easy. But yes, this is the compact form, but you will have to remember the coefficients alpha, beta, and gamma. I don't know how do you remember that. You have your own tricks of remembering, but this will be the starting point of all discussion. So obviously you need to have the values of the coefficients. So please, as I am repeating this again, this is the mass formula, and out of which this alpha, beta, gamma terms have to be removed. Delta, as you know, depends upon the situation. So delta is taken as plus for odd, because you know mass is increasing. Increase in mass is considered to be unstable, sign of instability. So here you can see that delta is taken as plus for odd, 0 for odd, even, and then it is taken as minus delta. You will have to take the minus sign here. It is even. Okay, so this once again, I'll just put it down here. Okay, this is not visible here. Let me see if I can. Okay. Once again. Okay, we will talk about that term now. Now we are trying to discuss the stability prediction for odd A. Remember, for odd A, delta is going to be 0. Please remember this value here. You can see that the odd A, here delta is 0. So this term is 0. So we are talking about those family for odd A isobar families. We are trying to predict the stability. Now for odd A, as I said, moment you put delta is 0, the expression becomes alpha A plus beta Z plus gamma Z square. So now here the mass formula becomes mass formula becomes alpha A plus beta Z plus gamma Z square. Okay, this is the expression. You can see that if I plot a graph between delta is 0 for odd A, if I plot a graph between M and Z, this will be a parabola. You can see that this is going to be a parabola. You can see this for odd A. Odd A means it could be this combination, even odd combination or odd even combination. We have only one parabola here. You can see that this is the parabola, and this vertex of the parabola here is going to be the most stable element of this isobar fabric. The members on the either side of the arms of the parabola are going to be having more mass. Stability means the nucleus which has got the least mass is considered to be the stable amongst the entire fabric. So we will have to check using our mass formula and see whether we are able to predict the stable element. It failed with the three expressions earlier, and now with the added two expressions of asymmetry and the pairing term, we are able to check. We now want to check whether the stability is predicted or not. Okay, now what happens here? We have taken a family whose A is 91. So this has got how many members? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 members in this isobar family whose A is equal to 91. Okay, now out of which, out of the 6 elements, one is stable and others are not stable. So what do you mean by one is stable and other are not stable? Means the one which are not stable will beta decay. You know, in beta decay the A does not change, so it will beta decay and try to reach the stable element. So here I can divide the graph into two parts, one to the left of the center and one to the right. The one to the left, you can see that as they slide down the parabola, the Z increases. Okay, Z increases means this is a beta minus activity. So by emitting beta particle, rubidium can come to strontium. Strontium can then decay into yttrium. Yttrium can then decay to zirconium, which is the most stable element. Now zirconium cannot decay to nubium. The reason is by doing so the mass will increase. You know that mass increases means exothermic nuclear reaction is not possible. On its own it cannot decay. So one thing you understand, that decay is always possible when there is a decrease in mass. So here you can see that the mass is decreasing, so it's able to happen naturally. This is not possible. If this happens, this becomes endothermic nuclear reaction. Endothermic means you need to have a projectile. You know, it's not a natural decay. We are talking about natural decays here. So zirconium, it will settle down at zirconium. Now the one to the right of the center, molybdenum, nubium. Now these two elements will slide down. When they slide down, the Z will decrease. Z decreases, but remember in all this the A is constant. Z decreases, obviously it becomes beta plus activity. This is a beta plus activity here. So it has to emit beta plus particle to slide down the parabola. It will keep on emitting beta particle till it reaches the stable element. Now this is how the stability is achieved, and the one which are on the either side of the either arms of the parabola are not stable by the virtue of having higher masses. Now this is the thing. Now our next job is the zirconium's Z value has to be predicted. It is around 40 or so. So whether we are able to get the same value of Z and mass, this is the mass and this is the Z, say this is 40 here, and the mass value, does it match with the textbook values? If it matches with the textbook values, which means our theory is able to predict the most stable element of the odd A isobar family. Now this is one of the tests. Now this is not the only test for the liquid drop model or Weizsäcker's semi-empirical mass formula. We are going to be testing this mass expression against various nuclear activity. This is the first of the test which we want to check whether it clears or not. Again, I have taken this the book. You can see this. There's the beta minus activity here. There's a beta minus activity here. Again, a beta minus activity here. Okay, I forgot to mention krypton here. Yeah, krypton is also there. Okay, krypton. There's rubidium, strontium, yttrium, zirconium. Then you have niobium and molybdenum. Okay, this is the the same graph which I plotted earlier. Now, all of you will agree that at this point, you can see that at this point the slope is 0. So if I draw a tangent here and take the slope is 0, so if I differentiate m with respect to z and equal to 0, this slope I'll get as 0. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm differentiating m with respect to z. A is constant. Obviously, A is constant because we're talking about the family members whose A is constant, and equating it to 0. So when I do that expression, and instead of z, I put z0. The z0 is the stable z. I'll get beta plus 2 gamma z. Now you'll ask me, how do I get it? It's very easy. You guys can easily do that. You differentiate this. Okay. Differentiation of m with respect to z. This is a constant, so this is a come. Differentiation of second term will be beta. Differentiation of second term will be 2 gamma z. So the only thing I'm doing is instead of z, I'm writing z0. So you can write z0. Now here you get an expression for z0 minus beta upon gamma 2 gamma. Now I have to put the value of beta and gamma and check whether z0 is turning out to be 40 or not. Now that is an exercise. I leave it to you. You'll ask me how will you calculate beta and gamma. Beta and gamma values are given here. To calculate beta, you need to know the a coefficient, asymmetric coefficient, whose values we had given earlier. You need to know the mass. You know the mass of nitrogen. You can take it from the table 1.008 something. You please take the exact value and differentiate it to the mass of proton. The difference will be in AMU. You convert that into MeV because this is all these units are in MeV. So the units should be same. So like that you can calculate beta. Gamma you can calculate this way. Put the Coulomb coefficient. A is 91 here. Okay. So like that. So I want you to take this exercise. Z0 you please see and check whether it's turning out to be a value which is closer to 40 or not. Anything which is closer to 40, that's more important. So which means we are able to predict the most stable elements of the isobar family. All right, now let's get an expression for the mass also. All right, mass for the stable element. For the mass, I put alpha A. Now instead of beta, I put the value of beta as minus 2 gamma z0. So that's why you can say that minus 2 gamma z0, and z is instead of z, I am taking z0 here. So basically this expression is like this. I'm going to put right here, mass is equal to alpha A plus beta z plus gamma z square. So what you're doing is instead of beta I'm writing beta is equal to, from the previous expression, minus 2 gamma z0 z0. So that I put here, and instead of z I write z0 because we are talking about the stable elements. So that's how this becomes. This becomes 2 minus 2 gamma z0 square. This is also gamma z0 square instead of z. So finally this is the expression for the mass of the stable element. So you can also use this expression to calculate mass and compare this mass with the textbook value. You take any nuclear physics book, the tables will be there for the Z and mass, charge and the mass. Or if you don't have any nuclear physics book with you, you can go to the net and find out the mass and charge of zirconium. So just see that and see whether it's matching or not. So this is an exercise, I leave it to you. Now let's calculate the difference in mass for odd A. Difference in mass between any members. That is, for example, this member and this member, any member, any two members. So between here it is written this. Okay, let me just get an expression for mass for any member, not the difference in mass. So but here the difference in mass between any member and the stable member can be calculated like that. Beta z, you instead of z, you just have to put z. This you already have alpha a minus gamma z zero square. So here it is written alpha a will get gamma z. So this term comes from right, and then you can put the values for mza. Mza means, how do I write mza? Mza would be equal to alpha a, beta is minus 2 gamma z0, and this z will become z, it will not be z0 now for mza, and plus gamma z square. Now this you have to subtract with m0. So this alpha a comes here, so this will become minus alpha a, this minus it will become plus here, plus 2 gamma z0 square. You can see this alpha a is getting cancelled. So this is the expression you get, gamma z minus z0 whole square. Again, you can write it down on a piece of paper and see and check whether this is there. So what is this expression, dear students? It is the difference in mass between any member of the isomer family with a stable element. Okay, this is the listing. Now if I want to know the mass of any member of the isomer family, I just take this mz0a on this side. So this will become m mass of any member is nothing but gamma z minus z0 square minus, of course, the mass of the stable element, that is z0. 0 stands for the stable element. For rest of the element, I call it as z. This is it. And this expression, I know, this is the difference in mass expression for this. Okay, so I just take this term and then I put this is a minus on here, this will become plus. Okay, this gives the parabolic mass relationship with value. Okay, this you see. So I got expression. What are the expressions I derived so far? I got the expression for the stable charge number. I got an expression for the mass. I got an expression for the general expression for any member. Now why do I need this masses? Now let me calculate the Q for the beta decay process. You know that when this element slides and goes to the next element, there's a beta minus process. So I can calculate the Q. We have calculated the Q for the beta decay in our beta decay chapter. So for beta decay, it is not just difference of the parent minus the daughter. I think that I had also asked you in objectives. So this is the mza, mz plus 1a is going to be beta minus. So here I got the mass formula. So wherever there is z, I'll put z plus 1. This m0 z0a will get cancelled for both. So you don't have to. So this is the expression. So instead of z, I'll write z plus 1 for mz plus 1a. So if I do this, put this expression here, I simplify it further. Okay, I get this expression for beta minus. Now this similarly I can get an expression for q beta plus. This is your homework. On similar lines, you know what has to be done, mza minus mz plus 1a. So here in a beta minus, the z increases by 1, in beta plus the z decreases by 1. So you do this exercise and you will finally get this expression for q beta plus. So this is the thing. Now we have not yet tested it. I am going to be asking you to do the calculations, and after I do the calculation in my next video, we shall discuss whether this is able to predict the most stable elements or not.